Alright, and welcome to The Block. I am your host, Kyle Johnston.
Marc Ashbourn.
And we are here to bring you the top news in today's pop culture, politics, and sports. It's been a busy day for July 1st. Happy Canada Day, everybody out there. As we know, it's NHL free agency. We just had the draft. So we're going to take a few minutes to focus in on the NHL. And before we get to that matter, I just want to send a shout out to the Graham family who lost a very important person in their family. And Cody, hopefully you get better, buddy. So 2 thumbs up for you guys, and let's go. Let's roll this right now. Obviously, we're from Toronto, Marc. So we're going to start off with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to look at the draft. We're going to look at the free agency. I'll let you take the ball on this.
Well, we got to start with the Kessel trade first. The Kessel, there are 2 things that are the most confusing of this offseason. It's the Dougie Hamilton trade and the fucking Kessel trade. Kessel, you get Kapanen, Harrington. If the Leafs finish like first or last, and the Penguins finish first, which could happen, and it's likely that that's going to be within like 5 spots.
Now you know that first round pick is lottery protected. The Pens have to make the playoffs in order for the Leafs to get that first round pick.
Exactly.
So if Pens miss the playoffs next year, the Leafs have no first round draft pick.
Yeah, but also they could finish. They're most likely going to finish in the top, the 5 or 10, and the Leafs are going to finish in the bottom 10. So it's almost like they move up maybe 10, most likely 10 spots in a later part of the draft, the first and second round, where it's kind of fluid between players. So that is not a huge factor to me. That's almost worth like a 3rd round pick, that lineage in the draft. And then you get to Kapanen. Kapanen has been an unproven player in the Finnish League, in the World Juniors. He's been called a lot of things, and none of them allude to a real impact player in the playoffs.
He was the one of the youngest drafted players in 2013, especially going in the first round. But I'm agreeing. Kapanen to me is no more than a 3rd line winger, because he ain't a checker and he ain't a top 4. He's struggling mightily. He's got 1 role in the NHL. He's a poor man's Thomas Fleischmann. Have fun with that, Leafs.
Yeah. And then Harrington and Eriksson are very similar players. Both have been touted to be top 4 defensemen, but they've been disappointments, so they're more like depth defensemen. They might develop into like a fucking Carlo Koliakovo. That's really what we're looking at. I mean, Koliakovo is a good puck possession defenseman, but he's a depth guy.
What about Spalding?
Spalding, like, if I was a competing team, I'd be excited for Spalding.
I agree.
He'd round out your team. He's a good support player. But we don't need a support player. We need more draft picks. We need to.
You need somebody that can make an impact. Because Spalding's not going to make an impact. Like you said, he's your penalty killer, 3rd line kind of player. Great to round out a championship team. You know.
Yeah, of course. He was better in Pittsburgh than he will be in Toronto. I mean, he'll play well with Daniel Winnick. Yeah. But that's not going to win you any games.
I won't sugarcoat it for the Leafs. I don't know what they're doing. How they didn't have Oli Mata or Pouliot included in this deal is beyond me. They got completely hosed. Like, I wouldn't even have made the trade. And they ate $1.3 million for 7 years on the cap. So, like, it just keeps going down. Everything just seems to keep canceling each other out. I know you wanted to get a guy out of the dressing room because you said you're going to make cultural changes. Maybe you shouldn't have put your foot in your mouth before you started talking, Shanny. But, you know, I would never have pulled this deal. I guess I'm not a general manager either. But,
I think they shot themselves in the foot when they were like, we're going to make a lot of culture. We're going to trade our core. So that makes other teams look at them and like... Totally. Oh, you're going to trade your whole team? Good luck. Because we all know you want to do it.
And on top of that, they signed P.A. Parento. I know it's only 1 year, but have fun with P.A. Parento. Like, seriously. Have fun with him. So Leafs, and they signed Matt Halschek. So, like, you know, like, they're adding some pieces and stuff, but
I wouldn't call any of the players they added pieces. I would say it's like an accumulation of draft picks.
They're trying to satisfy their fans?
Yeah, that could be a possibility, because it's easier to get... I remember in 2008, or 2009 when Sundin retired. It's 2008. They got a whole bunch of like scrappy random players like Jamal Mayers, and that puts you in the headlines. So fans that are uneducated, which is like 80% of Leaf fans, can say, look at this new player, look at this new player, look at this new guy. It doesn't...
It's what the Leafs have been doing for years.
Yeah,
bringing
exactly.
Band-Aids in. Bringing Band-Aids in. Now, like...
They are Band-Aids, but time will only tell. Because if they trade them for draft picks and accumulate draft picks over time, then I'll be convinced. But
perfect segue into the draft now. You know, the Leafs, I rip them over the free agency. I'm going to rip them over the Kessel deal. But their draft actually wasn't too bad.
Oh, the
now,
draft was good.
Obviously, drafting a Mitch Marner, they didn't really have too many options, really. Mitch Marner, Noah Hannafin. Take your pick, right? You want the forward, you want the defenseman. And then now, like, Mitch Marner, like, obviously Hunter knows him from London. Mitch Marner, he's a smaller winger. He ain't going to be no centerman in the NHL. I'll tell you that much. He's going to be a winger. He reminds me of Brendan Gallagher, but he's going to put about 10 more goals on the books than Brendan Gallagher. He's a scrappy, feisty little player. 53 penalty minutes last year for London. 129 points. That's not bad. He ain't no Lady Bing guy out there. He's going to scrap it out. Is he between him and Dylan Strome? I really don't know who's going to be better.
I would agree with that.
We don't know. That's a toss-up. I give the Leafs some congratulations for taking a flyer on the kid. I was kind of hoping they'd screw that pick up a little bit, but between him and Hannafin, it was pretty safe.
Yeah. And I would. Both are impact players. Both have potential to be in your top 8 for a championship team.
Yeah. I totally agree. Totally agree.
But Hannafin, they needed Hannafin more. Because when you're rebuilding a team, you want to get the best defenseman available.
I agree.
Because look at Chicago. Chicago is the most dominant team
LA
this
Kings.
decade. LA Kings, too. LA Kings, they've tailed off a lot because...
But their still defense is good, like the Alex Martinez is coming up in the world. They always seem to have somebody in the closet that they're freaking bringing up.
Yeah, but Chicago, Detroit before Chicago, and those two teams...
Even Colorado Avalanche back in the day, the defense was solid. You ain't going wrong. And they're still bringing up young kids. Well, Adam Foote and the boys were all... And Rob Blake's remaining to the point. They're still bringing up some young kids that were pretty good.
Exactly. If you have, especially in the new NHL, if you have a mobile defense, it's a huge advantage. Like, you're guaranteed the playoffs if you have a mobile defense and your forwards are...
And I think that Hannafin will be a much more mobile defenseman. He's not so much physical. Like, he didn't have the PIMS. Doesn't really have the nasty side to him. He likes to be... Said he likes to be like Drew Doughty. I can see that a little bit. Obviously... I don't think he'll be Drew Doughty, but
he's good.
He's a puck mover and he can move his feet pretty well. Now, if I'm looking at the Leafs picks, first I'm going to applaud them for trading down from 24th to 29th, then the 33rd, and accumulating some picks in the second round.
Yeah,
you could find some pretty damn good gems. They needed to stock the closet. Yeah. I'll give them an applaud for that. That's a really good trade by Shanahan and the boys. I think their biggest steal, to be honest with you, is this Andrew Nielsen kid they picked up in the 3rd round.
Yeah,
he's a big, nasty defenseman from Lethbridge. Took him in the 65th with the 65th pick. 101 penalty minutes last year, 24 points in 59 games. But he's a bruiser. He's exactly what you want on your back 4, 5, 6 spot. In a few years. Like, I think this kid more than anything is the steal for the Leafs in this draft for sure, by none. Any other comments about the Leafs?
Bracco? Is it Bracco?
Yeah, the little Bracco kid from the U.S.
The little Bracco kid. I liked that pick because they rated him at 24th.
Yeah, they got him at 61. Not bad.
That's pretty good. Also, Oliver Killington. Is that his name?
Oliver Killington. He went to the Flames. That was the steal of the draft, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because
that was a good steal.
That was a steal. He was, in the top 10?
Yeah.
And most people between the midway season, and he kind of tailed off a bit. He's a Swedish boy. He's a good skater.
Yeah.
Calgary
Calgary really benefited their defense in that draft. I mean, Dougie Hamilton, it's obvious that was a fucking...
They had Hamilton who's going to play. They got Kylington coming up. The Witherspoons and stuff.
I feel like Calgary's a team that would have picked Kylington at 15th.
Yeah, I know a lot of Leaf fans that I know wanted Kylington real bad, and those when they started trading down the picks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked though that he slipped all the way to the end of the second round, basically. Like, very shocking. I think the New York Islanders also had a steal in the draft with Matt Barzal.
Well, he was taken after Boston's 3 picks, right?
Yes, he was taken after Boston's 3 picks. You know,
what a bizarre scenario for Boston, because they could have gotten those players way later in the draft.
Here we go. Yeah, Matt Barzal, center from Seattle. You know, like, you need centermen to win in this league.
He's a big boy, too.
You know, I understand Boston took a defenseman. They're going to take a defenseman in those 3 picks no matter what.
And then they took
took 2 wingers that are, and one that I can't even pronounce his name, Shenshinin or whatever his name is. That's a reach and a half, man, when you have, like, Matt Barzal, Kyle Connor sitting there. And sure enough, as soon as Boston made their 3 picks, Islanders move up and grab fucking Barzal. And then right after, Kyle Connor goes. You know, very, very strange picks by the Boston Bruins. Not your atypical Bruins players. Very small, a little bit more speedy.
I think they're trying to redefine their identity. Is that trading away Lucic?
Oh, yeah. So what do you think? Now we're on Boston. Now, perfect segues, Mark. You're just fucking nailing this shit. So the Lucic shit, man. Lucic, Hamilton, what shocked you more?
Hamilton for sure, because I always looked at Lucic as a guy that if Boston wanted to drastically change their identity, with a lot of teams, you never know when they're going to do it, because maybe Boston's anxious about always being defined as that physical team, and if Lucic is losing his foot speed a lot. He was never a fast player, but he's
a free agent
slower
next year too, right? So I think it was a good deal for the Bruins. What they actually pulled down, technically, under the Lucic deal, they pulled down 2 first-rounders, Colin Miller, who I think is a serviceable NHL defenseman.
Yeah.
Can play the power play. You know, he's not small. He's got good feet.
They got 2 times the amount of good prospects than the Kessel.
Yeah, and then they picked up another half-decent prospect from San Jose in that. So they got 2 first-rounders and 2 half-decent prospects. Oh, yeah, they made the Kessel deal look like nothing. Like seriously, Leaf fans. Like, you must be thinking, like, that's what they got for a guy with only 1 year left on his deal? Our guy's got 8? 40-goal scorer?
And we took away fucking salary, come on. We took away fucking salary.
Gave him a pick?
We gave them a pick. We gave them Tim Erickson. We gave them Tyler Biggs. And Tyler Biggs isn't a huge deal.
It's nothing to be, but still.
They gave shit in an elite sniper deal.
Yeah. The other thing about the Boston Bruins, which I really don't understand, they're always sitting here bitching about money and Don Sweeney and all this stuff, and they move Lucic out, they move Hamilton out, and then they sign Adam McQuaid for 4 years at $2.75 million cap hit.
Yeah.
Like, really? After he's been hurt for how long? I would have given him a 1 or 2 year deal max of like $2 million, man. I would prove yourself, buddy. We know what you were. You were a tough little rumble defenseman, not bad penalty killer.
Big boy.
He was good in the dressing room, but still 4 years at $2.75 million, and you ate money on the Lucic deal.
Yeah, I'm still really confused by the Hamilton deal.
Yeah, very confused. First and 2 seconds? That's cheap, man. I'd love to give up a first and 2 seconds for a guy like Dougie Hamilton. Seriously.
I don't know why every other team in the NHL didn't start a bidding war for that shit.
No, I don't understand. I heard there was a few teams in on it. Arizona was in on it. And
I hate to see it.
I can't remember right off the top of my mind, but I know there was like 4 or 5 other teams kind of in on it.
I don't know why the Leafs wouldn't try to re-get the player that they gave up, who was better than I think Hamilton's more valuable than Sagan.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the Leafs had an extra first round pick, and they had some second round picks sitting in there, and I understand that the Leafs want to rebuild, but he's a 22-year-old defenseman. You're rebuilding with a 22-year-old defenseman.
And elite defenseman.
And you just got rid of
right shot.
And you got rid of Kessel, so you saved some fucking money getting rid of Kessel. Would have went to fucking Hamilton.
And it's not like money's a big issue for the Leafs.
No, but it's the cap, right? It's the cap. Everybody's always worried about the cap. And stuff
Who would be better to fucking start a rebuild with than Morgan Rielly, one of the best up-and-coming mobile defenders, and Dougie Hamilton, a mobile 6'5", closing the gaps brilliantly,
and that allows you
possession defenseman.
And that allows you to move Dion Phaneuf without having to worry about filling Dion Phaneuf's minutes, which they were so worried about when they re-signed him as a free. Phaneuf could have been gone last year, but the Leaf fans you re-signed him. Because he said there was nothing else out there to fill it. Yeah, he could have brought a guy up from the fucking AHL to fill his fucking minutes in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, seriously, who do you think they were?
Phaneuf has no mobility anymore. When he was in Calgary, he was a mobile defenseman. But all those bow ties and Bentleys have gotten fat and stupid.
Right. Well, we've been sitting here, talking for about 10 minutes. We haven't got to Connor McDavid. What are your thoughts on the little phenom Connor McDavid now going to Edmonton and Edmonton's kind of moves?
Edmonton, I think they're doing what they did.
Sakara, Letestu, free agency today. Add Connor McDavid. Add Griffin Reinhart. I think that was a good deal.
That was a good deal because they've gotten the good kind of future minute-eating defenseman.
Yeah, they traded, the 31st pick or something like that, or something right down there, and you're not going to find a Griffin Reinhart. Even though his stocks dropped a bit, but you're still not going to find a Griffin Reinhart in the fucking last 5 picks of the first round.
No,
I think it was an excellent trade.
Reinhart is going to develop into a top 4. He still has mobility. He doesn't make mistakes, He's a solid defenseman. I think it's because he's lost stock into his two-way appeal. But him and Nurse are a good backbone, and if you get a few mobile puck movers in there, he'll balance out the team real well. But Edmonton's probably not finished beyond 10th last. I'm getting Talbot,
I'm still skeptical. You're going to take a couple years for sure for listening. Seems to be moving very quick.
Crosby was more of an impactful player than McDavid will be because the offensive players
didn't make the playoffs in his first year.
Exactly, and when Crosby came into the league, those types of players, the offensive dynamos, were more impactful than they are now.
I have to say though, McDavid looked pretty. He looked pretty. I wouldn't say nervous, but a little bit. He looked hopeful that there'd be a different name called first overall, to be honest with you. I don't think he really wants to be out west. He's a good Canadian boy. He'll shut his mouth. He'll go out there and fucking perform. But I would not be shocked in 6 or 7 years from now that this kid is moving on from Edmonton for sure. Just something about his body language at the draft and everything.
McDavid, I think he was just nervous, but Edmonton is a shithole.
Yeah.
It is a shithole.
Yeah. But he will perform, so I gotta ask you a question. Over under 69.5 points for McDavid. Will he crack 70?
I would take
in his first year.
I would take the under. I'm very nervous because in the West, you go up against Kopitar. You go up against Getzlaf, even Joe Thornton.
Yeah, now you're being totally realistic. And the defense, these teams just loaded up, some of the Western D. Let's look at a trade that not a lot of people are talking about. Bieksa to Anaheim. That's a perfect deal for Anaheim. That's exactly what Anaheim needs. A guy's going to punch you in the mouth on the back end.
I'm nervous.
Great penalty killer.
Chicago in the playoffs. I think they've improved a little bit in terms of their style, suiting their style.
And they're not done yet. They're going to make a couple more moves.
They're not done yet. But Anaheim has really... Bieksa fits in perfectly with the Ryan Getzlaf captain mentality.
Perfect for Anaheim. So now look who McDavid's got to go up against. He said, you just mentioned some of the centers. We got all the great defensemen over there in the West. We got some pretty damn good goaltending out in the West too. So he's just not going to walk into the NHL and score fucking 2 points a fucking game.
I'd bet the under. I'd bet the under in a heartbeat.
Gambling man, I think he's going to get around 65 to 68 points. Something sitting around in there. I think he's just going to miss 70. If he does crack 70, it's going to be 71 or 72 points. It's going to be nothing crazy. I would put my money on the under. I'm with you, Mark. I don't think he's going to hit the 70 mark. I should have went and looked. I didn't see what Crosby had in his first year.
Crosby had 103.
In his first year in the NHL?
Maybe 100.
No, I don't think so. I don't even think he cracked 80.
No, he had 100 points.
We'll have to find that out.
But that was in a time when that was the year that 8 players scored 100 points. So it wasn't.
And they were introducing all the rules too. So the referees were penalty happy.
Yeah.
There were a lot of fucking goals.
He scored 50 power play points.
I don't think he cracked 100. We'll have to look. We'll update that on the next edition of the block. No worries.